the right you're in the right place as well. So thank you for being with us. It's important for us to understand and remember the history of the land you find yourself on, especially today. Some of us are on the unceded territory of the Lenni Lenape people, whose homelands include Delaware, New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, and Southern New York. Wherever you are, give a moment to give thanks to the ancestors and those who came before us. Just as a reminder, on Zoom Church, we stay on mute so that we have good quality sound. That is until it's time to be interactive, and we'll give you instructions about that. You do have the ability to use closed captioning if it would be helpful for you to see the words to the service. Look on your screen for the CC button so that you'll be able to both read the words that are being spoken. At this time, we are going to get started with our prelude. It is played on the piano by our own Kyoko Makino, who is gathered with us in the space. We're so grateful for her music ministry. And this song is a medley. It's This Land Is Your Land by Woody Guthrie and Lift Every Voice and Sing by Rosamond Johnson. Amen. Thank you again, Kyoko. Great way to start the service. Our very own senior pastor will lead us in our opening song, Amazing Grace. Thank you, Linda.
Sure. So we traditionally sing this in several languages. We'll be singing in Cherokee and Creek. I've also found some Lenape words, and I'm working on putting that together so we can be singing Lenape words to this tune in the future. I myself have swapped out the word wretch for soul, but please, as always, anytime we sing, use the language and words that are right for you. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. but now am found, was blind, but now I see. Unetlana hiuegi ega kuya hei nagujosa wiulose ega kuya hona. Poja fekta hetlatatet ananacha pakas chafikio funan lacus umehata layus. My God has promised good to me, whose word my hope secures. God will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures.
Amen. This is the time in our service when we have room for you to participate. So at home, we encourage you to read responsively with us. Words are usually more powerful if you can join in. And then we also ask for, see if we have 2 volunteers who would like to read aloud for us. So we're going to be looking at our gallery view to see if anyone is raising their digital or physical hand so that you can read these opening sentences for us responsively. I see Nathan's hand. Thank you, Nathan. One more. And I see Ruth's hand. Great. So Nathan, I'll ask you to be the leader, and Ruth is going to read the part of the people, and we will help get you unmuted. And thank you so much for leading us in this way.
We plant seeds in the ground and dreams in the sky.
Hoping that someday the roots of one will meet the upstretched limbs of the other.
It has not happened yet. We share the sky, all of us, the whole world.
Together, we are a tribe of eyes that look upward, even as we stand on uncertain ground.
The earth beneath us moves, quiet and wild.
Its boundaries shifting, its muscles wavering.
The dream of the sky is indifferent to all of this.
Impervious to borders, fences, reservations. There we are in the world together.
The dream of sky requires no passport.
Blue will not be fenced. Blue will not be a crime.
Look up, stay a while, let your breathing slow.
Know that you always have a home here.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you both so much for that. We have a few announcements to share with you. We want to thank our worship team this morning. Nathan Sedacian and Melinda are serving with us today, and we appreciate them. A reminder about our Water Sunday service. It's on September 12th. We gather together physically in the backyard, and we'll also find a way to think about our online community also. But we invite you to collect water from any of your travels or from your home or your neighborhood. We use that water to create our baptismal font. So please collect those if you are lucky enough to be near water this summer. Our pandemic parenting group meets every Monday at 8:15. So please join us if you'd like some support to talk about parenting. Our Amen and Amen group, BIPOC support group, will meet on Tuesday, July 6th, the first Tuesday of each month at 7:30 p.m. Our Honoring Grief group is on hiatus until September. Obviously, though, pastors are available for grief support, so please reach out if you'd like a one-on-one conversation. And we thank Nyla, who leads us in that area with such grace and leadership. The COVID working group's next scheduled meeting is Monday, July 12th at 7:30. And if you would like to have a pastoral conversation about the world reopening and what that means for you and how you're feeling about that, we know it's a confusing time, this pandemic we have all lived through together. So there's a conversation that is happening on Thursday, July 8th at 7, so that we can be in community to talk about all that mix of emotions. We could use a few more people to serve as greeters. We're doing our in-person service the second and fourth Sundays outdoors in the backyard at church in Chestnut Hill in Philadelphia. So having some people present as hospitality greeters would be great. And then we also use greeters online for our Zoom services. So if you're curious about that and have questions, or you know you have a gift of hospitality, please let one of the pastors know so that you can join our rotation. You wouldn't have to do it every week. Prayer requests are sent to prayers@chestnuthillunited.org if you want pastors to be praying for you on an ongoing basis about something. And we're changing the Zoom settings now so that everyone can either directly send chats to individuals or send them to the group, and so that you can unmute yourself during prayer time. As a reminder, we record the service, except that we pause that during prayer time so that your prayers are kept confidential within the community. And now it's time for our time with children.
Good morning, I'm Kipp, associate pastor, use he, him pronouns. Are there kids here this morning? I think I see Ty's children down in the corner of my screen. How are you all, Ty's children? It's so good to see you. Is there anything that you all would like to tell us about this morning? Anything that you have been doing, or that you're excited about, or that you're worried about, or anything like that?
Where is he?
You want to share?
Where is he?
You want to share anything that you're feeling or what's going on?
Where is he?
You can't see right now. Say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
What?
Do you guys want to tell us about anything today?
Yep.
How old are you? Did you have a birthday?
Yeah. I'm 4.
4. That's so exciting.
Yes, we can see you.
We're so
Everyone.
excited that you're 4. Thanks for telling us about that. Anyone else?
Go ahead. Adrian, you want to share? Where are we staying for a few weeks this summer?
At our grandparents' house.
Ooh, fun. That sounds like a good time.
He doesn't see me. Yeah, he does.
Anybody else?
Anyone else, Elena? I'm sick.
Yeah, you've been sick.
Oh, you've been sick. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I
No,
hope
she
you feel
said
better.
she's sick. She said she's sick.
Sick.
She's been sick.
Sick. Oh, that's better. I'm glad you're 6, not sick.
And I'm 4.
And Nevaeh, where did you just get back from?
Outer Banks.
Oh,
Nevaeh went to the Outer Banks with a friend for a whole week and went parasailing, right? Yeah, we're gonna tell everybody.
And she went on a jet ski.
that's
Yeah, and then you were about to fly off. Nevaeh, did you fly off? In the ocean.
so I wonder if you all can tell us what today is.
The 4th of July.
Good, you did that all in unison. And what do you know about the 4th of July?
Today is the day they published the Constitution or whatever.
Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, I don't know the name of it anymore.
Okay. What kind of does this day make you have any kind of feelings? Any feelings at all about today? No, really?
No, I'm not. I'm never
She says it's a regular day with fireworks.
A regular day with fireworks. All right. Yeah. So
celebrating it.
a lot of people celebrate this day and get excited, and there are some things that say, hey, something important happened on this day in history. But we also know that as much as people say how much they love the country, that there are ways we're still trying to become a better place. So I want to watch a video together. This is something that we're all going to watch, but it's got some young people in it who are descended from a very famous American named Frederick Douglass. And he gave a speech about the 4th of July that told us that it's not just about celebrating what we think is great about this country, because there are a lot of things that also weren't great. So we got to pay attention to those. So I want us to watch this video and hear the words of this important speech from a long time ago, but they're read by great grandchildren of the person who made this speech. So thank you all for being here and for sharing with us. And Nathan, I'll ask you to put the video on so we can all hear the words of this speech. Read by American prophets. This is God's good news. Thanks be to God. I only discovered that yesterday. Linda texted it to me, and it seemed very important to have it as our first reading. It doesn't connect really at all to the Bible reading or my sermon, which was done before I watched it. So here's the sermon time part 2. It starts with the Bible reading, which this morning we're hearing from Paul's second letter to the Corinthians. Well, really at least his third letter, but the very first one was lost to history. So this one is called 2 Corinthians, and it's from chapter 12, the beginning of it. He's in the middle of saying something, and this is where it picks up. I must go on boasting, however useless it may be, and speak of visions and revelations from God. I know someone who 14 years ago was caught up in the third heaven. Whether it was in the body or out of the body, I do not know. Only God knows. And I know that this man, whether in the body or out of the body, I do not know. God knows. This man was caught up into paradise and heard unspeakable things of which no human being may tell. About such a man I will boast, but about myself I will not boast, except as regards my weaknesses. You can sort of hear in the whole first part of that how he's really struggling not to say it's me, but here he's going to say, I'm not going to boast about all of this stuff. I will boast only about my weaknesses. And if I choose to boast, I will not be a fool, for I will be speaking no more than the truth. I refrain in case anyone should credit me with more than she can see in me or hear from me, because of the marvelous character of the revelations. For this reason, to prevent my thinking too highly of myself, there was a thorn sent to pierce my flesh, some sort of suffering, an instrument of Satan to discipline me, so that I should not think too highly of myself. 3 times I prayed to Jesus about this, begging that it might leave me, but he replied, "My grace is sufficient for you, for power is made perfect in weakness." Most gladly, then, will I boast all the more of my weaknesses, so that the strength of Christ may overshadow me. That is why I delight in weakness, ill treatment, hardship, persecution, and difficulties when born for Christ. For when I am weak, then it is that I am strong. This is God's good news. The first time I saw a rat up close, it was jumping out of our kitchen sink. We were young newlyweds living in a 12-foot wide row house in Kensington. Kathy and I, not the rat and I was standing in the doorway between the dining room and our kitchen, having just flipped on the light to investigate a strange noise. The rat leapt out of the sink basin and down between the sink and the wall. I screamed high-pitched and unrepeatable words, and I grabbed a running shoe as my first line of defense. The second time I saw a rat up close and in person, it was that same one. It had made its way upstairs, most likely through the vents. I lifted the bed skirt under the bed to investigate a strange noise we'd heard from underneath. The rat darted out and ran into the bathroom across my bare feet. I screamed high-pitched and unrepeatable words. Our next door neighbors were 2 sisters who went to the same little church we did. They were well into their 80s and had been in their house for longer than we'd been alive. Caroline and Leona. They'd grown up somewhere north in coal country, but had long since become urbanites. They heard of our travails and said, "We've never had a rat in our house." The judgment on our housekeeping skills was only implied, not stated. But wouldn't you know it was not very long before they had an unwanted visitor too. Caroline walked into their bathroom and found herself alone. So she shut the door, she shut herself in, and her voice rang out loud and clear, "Leona, bring me the baseball bat. There's a rat in here." Rats don't get a lot of love. People think they're dirty and mean. You can see them skittering around the tracks of the Broad Street line sometimes. I guess they favor the dark when there are people around. They can seem to overtake urban areas where food sources are plentiful. For a while, they were even blamed for the bubonic plague that killed some 25 million people in Europe in the 1300s. Then the theory shifted that it wasn't really the rats that caused it, but they carried the fleas that spread the disease. More recently, scientists have come to believe that rats were only one of the hosts for those deadly fleas, and that most were spread actually by humans. Still, rats don't get a lot of love. For lots of folks, they trigger the horror and disgust reflex. They're also, or can be, heroic. Last month, NPR ran a story about Magawa, who is a Tanzanian-born African giant pouched rat. Just saying that kind of makes me shiver a little. Tanzanian-born African giant pouched rat. In 2020, he received a gold medal from a British charity for life-saving work. I'm sure he was thrilled. This year he retired and will go to a rat retirement home where he'll have good food and will get to play for the rest of his days. That will be a big change from the past 5 years. Magawa has been working in Cambodia, where he has been part of a program run by a nonprofit that trains rats to sniff out landmines. While they're being trained by their human companions, the rats get food rewards for finding targets, for walking across particular surfaces, and then for telling the difference between the scent of an explosive versus some other smell. Wow. Once they know what they're doing, they work really quickly. So they can cover a patch of ground that would take a person 2, 3, or even 4 days of painstaking work in half an hour.
Oh, wow.
Their eyesight is terrible. but they have an excellent sense of smell, and they're too light to trigger a landmine. So when they find something, they scratch the surface above it to signal to their human partner. Magawa has been particularly prolific. In his 4 years of active work, he has covered 2.4 million square feet, which is something north of 55 acres. And he's found 71 landmines and 38 pieces of unexploded ordnance, each of which could have claimed human life or limb. That's remarkable work from a creature that makes people shriek in fear and shudder with revulsion. It is, we might even say, God's work. Of course, it's work that would be entirely unnecessary were we humans not so good at creating devices meant to destroy and maim. Cambodia is littered with landmines and other ordnance left from some 3 decades of civil war and international conflict, most in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Our nation is one of the guilty parties. Some of those explosives came from us. In 1999, a global treaty banning the use of landmines came into effect. There are some nations who have not signed onto it still. We are among them. And there is still hopeful news. The Cambodian government thinks that the project of removing the landmines will finally be completed in 2025, but that comes only after decades of death and injury. I'm struck by the contrast. If you believe the old story, humans are the pinnacle of creation. And while we've got some amazing accomplishments, we have all too often turned our abilities and our ingenuity against ourselves and against the world we live in. Rats, on the other hand, rats are helping to save lives. My grace is sufficient for you, for power is made perfect in weakness. This is where I was thinking this week. That's the sentence that came to Paul as he tried to pray away his own frailty. Power made perfect in weakness. It's an interesting conviction to sit with on this holiday especially. Weakness is not among the virtues that our nation extols. It's not an ideal you'll find on display in the parades rolling down main streets around the country or in the colorful explosions that paint the sky. It's not something you'll hear much about in the dominant forms of Christianity that try to bend public policy and other people's gender identities and ways of loving to their will. Self-mastery is something you'll hear about. And independence, technological prowess, military muscle, chest-thumping bigness, and self-sufficiency, the freedom to act without constraint or restraint, rockets, red glare, and bombs bursting in air. But what hides in plain sight is in this day's paeans to strength and might are that these are the very principles and practices that animate patriarchy and heterosexism, that undergird white dominant culture, that decimate the planet. So today, I choose to meditate on Magawa, to consider the reviled rat, to reflect on power made perfect in weakness. The disadvantages of small size and poor eyesight that are paired with a keen sense of smell, quick study, and ability to work in partnership to do life-saving work. Grace manifest in creatures that make many of us recoil. Maybe there's an invitation in that for us, more broadly, to notice our own limitations, to notice our own fragility. Not, I don't mean this, not to celebrate the pain that we live with, but to notice that the points where we struggle and need help can also bear unexpected gifts, like a community that actually expanded when we all started having to shelter in place. When we recognize that we need each other is when spirit is most alive among us. And this is God's good news. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Kipp. This is that sacred time in our service when we invite you to share the petitions of your heart. And we got to change that recording to something that sounds a little softer.
I'm not sure how to do that, but I'll look into it.
Thank you. A reminder about both the ways that we think about giving and the ways to give. We want to remind you that when you think about how you give back to this community and the world, that we go broad in that thinking. Certainly, finances are the ways that we're able to support a lot of our ministries, and we appreciate your continued generosity and your discernment about how you want to financially support this community. But we also think about all of our gifts and our time and the ways that we can be God in the world to someone else. And we thank you for that generosity as well. To give financially, you can go online to our website. You can do it via text, and you can also mail a check. So that information is there. And if you ever want to have a conversation about giving, then the pastors are available to talk to you about that. And we thank you for your gifts. Our closing song, Linda will lead us in Be Now My Vision.
Be now my vision, O God of my heart. Nothing surpasses the love you impart. You my best thought by day or by night. Waking or sleeping, your presence my light. Be now my wisdom and be my true word. Ever within me my soul is assured. Mother and Father, you are both to me. Now and forever your child I will be. Riches I need not, nor life's empty praise. You my inheritance now and always. You and you only are first in my heart. Great God, my treasure, may we never part.
Amen. At this time, we will send you away with a blessing and invite you to stay on for a few seconds if you can, unmute and greet each other if you have time on your way to whatever celebration you might be off to. As you leave this place, may oppression make wise people mad. May our hypocrisy be exposed. May you remember that their grace is sufficient for you. And may we continue to hope. Amen. Hi, everybody.
Morning, everyone. Thanks for reading, Ruth. Hi, Marissa. So great to see the kids this morning.
A lot of nothing to say, you know.
Oh, no. All we needed
needed
was to see that belly. That's all that we needed.
I know they still can't comprehend, you know, who's seeing them and what's going on. So
oh, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. Morning, Marlene. Good to have you here. Nathan, thanks so much this morning.
Thank you. I never stopped the recording. I think someone else.
Okay.
Stop it. I got it.
Stop it.